connection and opportunity. All in one place. Come join the community. So text it now, don't wait in line. Ride for life. 949-292-905. That's
949-292-905. They discovered it, they read it, and they applied it. It's the golden thread that connects the titans of the self-development industry, the source that spawned millions of millionaires, the original blueprint to success.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. It's a classic. A classic.
And I love Think and Grow Rich. I love it. It's right here. I mean, it's one of my favorite books of all time.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
This material is what changed my life. This is the material I study every day. From being an immigrant woman, coming from poverty, and really coming to America and literally achieving the American dream. I can't even tell you how grateful I am for this man, for what he did for me and my family.
Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.
People don't realize is that when we let our ego get in our way, ego is the loss, the fear of loss. So need to be right, the need to be offended, the need to be hurt, fearful. When that trajectory changes, what happens is you continually go the wrong way. So my job as a coach is to say, let's get into the enjoyment of the direct pursuit of my potential. Right? And so when the light went on, it was not about the potential of making money and being an entrepreneur, which is one of my specialties. And I said to him, look, this is an opportunity now to show how great you really are. We can't let the outside voices, right, determine our success. The happiness that we have comes within. Why are you going to give that control to somebody else?
Thoughts become things. And I always wonder, why did no one teach us this? Why did we not learn this in school? Why did we not learn this from our families? If you make your study a priority, your life will change.
And I came up with 4 really valuable things that I took stock in. And the first one was gratitude. Simple gratitude. Although I grew up with nothing, I was always grateful. Throughout the whole process of consistently, persistently pursuing my potential, I was grateful. It made my past better, my present brighter, and my future even brighter than that. In fact, I tell people all the time, if you want to change your life, change your employee's life, your family life, it's very simple. 2 words, say thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Napoleon Hill Institute weekly training, and I'm blessed to be with the best. And he has a lot of bees in that best with the best, Blaine Bartlett. BlaineBartlett.com, moving our possibilities into reality. He's been my teacher, coach, and mentor for decades now, and that makes us both old, but we appreciate that because wisdom is what we are in search for. Knowledge is a commodity, as we've talked about, and it takes the dummy tax to get us to where we want to be or better, and no doubt. But before we get started on the weekly training, and Blaine's going to hang out afterwards and do an Ask Me Anything, answer your questions, gracious enough. So make sure you're thinking about your takeaways and your asks for Blaine at the half of the hour. But before we get started, just want to remind everyone where we are going to be so that you can join us. And we are currently in Breckenridge, Colorado, fresh off the plane from London, and we will be doing a Ryder Cup of Wine, a VIP dinner, and a meetup in holding court here in Breckenridge at the finale tomorrow, Thursday. Then come join us in Atlanta with the big guns. We all will be there in Atlanta, there with the amazing Steph Cinecropi, Kim Walsh Phillips. Who else is going to be in Atlanta?
We're going to be with EO.
Oh, EO.
Justin and Kim.
Right. Speaking at an EO
Kenny
event,
Stoddard.
Kenny Stoddard, myself. So thank you. Nick is sitting here as my sidekick. We'll be in Atlanta. If you want to come to our VIP dinner, if you want to come to the interviews, holding court, meetup, speeches, Atlanta, Georgia next week, then Vegas, and that's season.
Missing Newport Beach. The story.
She didn't put it in there. Oh. Newport Beach Mastermind before we go to Vegas with the amazing Tim Story, and those are incredible. Then back to Las Vegas for season 8 of 2 Minute Drill. And so come and join the #1 pitch only show. And then, of course, down to San Diego. She has San Diego instead of Newport Beach, I think. And then, of course, SoFi Stadium. We'll be at SoFi Stadium. Come and join us there. Always invited, not obligated. If you want to be invited and informed, area code 949. Next 3 numbers is 298. Last 4 numbers 2905. Or just email me, david@dmeltzer.com. David means beloved. D is my first initial. Meltzer is my last name, means servant. Let me be your beloved servant. Email me if you like the replays, the guides, the exercise, this training. If you like Blaine's contact information, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. All right, it's time to rock. It's time to roll. I love trainings, and this is one of my favorites. You got to rewrite our story to rewrite our life. And we have the power to rewrite whatever we want to rewrite. It's easier to rewrite today than ever with AI. That's for sure. Getting from 0 to 1 is so easy, but the same characteristics, the same challenges exist. Getting from 1 to 100, that's for sure. Executing and rewriting our story to rewrite our life. And every result in our lives begins with a thought. And our thoughts shape our perceptions, and our perceptions guide our intentions, which create our meaning. So what we do, say, think, feel, and believe, that meaning influences our behaviors. And of course, our behaviors, they produce the results. But too many of us attach to only the results and never focus in on the thoughts and the perceptions and the intentions and the meaning and even our behaviors. We just want the evidence today to completely align with where we want to be or better. But when we repeatedly tell ourselves the same limiting stories, when we create the same responses to the reaction to fear, when we limit our potential, we eventually begin living as if that story, that limiting story, is true. We may often tell ourselves we aren't ready, which should occur all the time. We aren't connected, which is ridiculous, and or capable enough to get to where we want to be or better. But over time, that belief causes us to avoid or interfere with the very behaviors, the very actions, the very intentions, meanings, perceptions, and thoughts, and opportunities, options, and touches of favor results that could prove otherwise. Most of us don't have a capability problem. We may have an alignment of capability problem, that we haven't aligned our capabilities correctly with what's doing well, what's stable, and what we think is doing well. But in that thought process, perception, meaning, intention, and behavior, we normally only have a belief problem. We don't see the world only as it is. Unfortunately, many of us, we see it through what we believe is possible, and we limit that. That is why Blaine is that possibility to reality man, because he understands the what, the who, the how, and the now, and he applies your why and aligns your capabilities with what's doing well, what's stable, and you think is doing well. Once again, if you would like a replay of this training, David at dmeltzer.com. The first lesson that we'd like to teach you today is to question our stories. Ask ourselves, is our story actually true? There's so many of us and having our strongest beliefs that we never consciously chose. We weren't intentional about it. We weren't thoughtful about it. We weren't meaningful about it. And so our perceptions were guided by historical relevances, defining moments, mistakes, failures, and setbacks. So we end up repeating assumptions until they feel like the truth. They feel like facts. And then, unfortunately, we make decisions based off of assumptions, not the reality. We tell ourselves so many different things. I can't do it. I'm too old. Not smart enough. I don't understand it. People won't pay me. People don't value me. I always fail. I'll lose everything. But we do this without examining the evidence behind those statements. Blaine, you're the master of taking people from this possibility to reality. How can we help our beliefs feel true and actually be true and stop this limiting behavior that weakens our ability to control our behaviors?
Two things come to mind on that. And first of all, welcome back from London.
Thank you.
That's an awesome. Pardon?
We missed you, but I got a cool Stonehenge hat. Look.
Hey, I love it. I love it. That's great. Yeah, I'm actually on the other side of the world here. I'm in Japan right now, and
beautiful.
Yeah, and it has been beautiful. The idea story. When I'm working with clients, one of the very first things that I want to land with them is that the story is, and I mean this categorically, the story is never true. We may act as if it's true. We may function as if it's true, but the story functionally and absolutely is not true. It's a manufactured construct that we then find ourselves thrashing around in. And to the point that you're raising here, we're always going to have a story. So if I can land on the fact that the story is never true, that gives me license to produce any story I want. And if I can produce any story I want, by definition, I'm in charge of my life now, and I can literally step up and run with it. I can manufacture a reality that is consistent with whatever belief I want to entertain. Because what's going on is everything that I see out here and I call reality is a function of belief anyway. So rather than taking somebody else's belief system and saying, well, that's just who I am, throw it out the window and say, okay, what belief is going to best serve me? And then start developing content that reinforces that belief.
So true. When we subjectively separate the objective facts from assumptions, fears, and past experience, we can ask ourselves what evidence proves this story beyond all doubt. And you'll find that you have the power to give it the thoughts, the perceptions, the meaning, intentions, and behaviors that will create the results or better that you desire. If you would like this exercise on how to create your own stories, moving possibilities to reality, email me, David means beloved, at D, first initial, Meltzer means servant, David at dmeltzer.com. You can get the replays, the guides, and the exercise. Just email me. The second lesson, Blaine, that we'd like to discuss is how to replace certainty with curiosity. Now, under the precipice of what you suggested, that we create our reality, we create the certainty in our lives. I believe with non-negotiable behavior, one of the best ways to do so. But how do we replace that certainty with the power of curiosity when our ego wants certainty so bad? It'll defend ourselves, it'll prove ourselves, it'll try to control the uncertainty. But what growth really requires, Blaine, as you've taught me, is curiosity. We assume we already know what will happen. I don't know why, when all of the history tells us we don't. And if we did, we could make billions of dollars together and give it to the Unstoppable Foundation. But we eliminate possibilities before we ever explore them, over the belief that we actually know what's going to occur in the future. We decide an opportunity won't work far before we take any action, any alignment, and any adjustment. Because something similar failed in the past. I put out a quote this week that said, so often things that have never happened in the past happen. Mm-hmm. So instead of seeing the past as information, let's just allow it to help us predict our futures. Possibilities create probabilities. Probabilities create perception. Perception creates behavior. Behavior creates reality. We only need one exception to challenge the certainty of a limiting belief: curiosity. Explain to us how important curiosity is.
Boy, without curiosity, all you're left with is vanilla. I mean, that's all you're left with.
Ice cream.
The most popular flavor, and there's a reason for that. Because most men, I'm going to use this quote here, most men live lives of quiet desperation because they're not curious. They're not curious. What's under that rock? Yeah. Is that in this context here, is that belief really valid? One of the things that I've been doing for the last probably 15 years or so is, instead of a New Year's resolution process at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year, I write down what are some of the major beliefs that I've been holding on to for this current year. And the question I ask myself, I get curious, is it still valid? What are the assumptions I'm making that support that belief system or that belief element, and poke holes in that assumption? What if I pulled this pillar out? Would that belief still stand? Well, son of a bitch, it just collapsed. Now that moves us to this next one. Nature abhors a vacuum, so I'm going to want to replace that belief with something else, consciously and deliberately. Otherwise, it's going to get replaced by somebody else for me, and that's not going to work either.
Yeah, it's interesting in that curiosity that we look for evidence that contradicts our limiting beliefs with curiosity. Mm-hmm. We can replace the questions instead of, I know I can't do this, to what can I do to make it possible? Because once I have a possibility, then I can have a probability, then I can have a perception, then I can have meaning, intention, and behaviors. And so there is a formula to replace certainty and curiosity. And if you're interested in that exercise and formula, email me, david@dmeltzer.com, along with the replay of this training. It'll be great with the guides and exercises as well. The next lesson, Blaine, beyond curiosity and beyond understanding the limitations that we do place upon ourselves, I always believe taking inventory, like you said, whether it's the end of the year, end of the week, end of the month, end of the day, provides us data that we can find clues, patterns, and make better choices aligned with our timing and risk tolerance, our perceived value, and our bottom line. So taking inventory or auditing the emotional expense, the emotional expenditure. One of our greatest expenses isn't financial. It isn't even time. It's emotional. The direct interference between us and the infinite intelligence, intuition, and inspiration and energy that we have. Limiting beliefs consume our focus, our attention and our intention, our energy and our confidence, and the creativity, while influence decisions may not even realize we're making. When we believe we're not enough, when we believe there's not enough, when we procrastinate, feel overwhelmed, avoid things, difficult conversations, when we oversell, undersell, stay in unhealthy situation, and even turn down options, opportunities, and touches of favor that are aligned with our timing and risk tolerance, are within the bottom line and perceived value that we've created. We need to audit this emotional expense. Sometimes we've had employees who are so smart, so wonderful, oh my goodness, and so profitable. I have one that you coach, but yet he was the most emotionally expensive employees I've ever had. Not just for me personally, but people left the business because of him. People wouldn't come to the business or do business with him because of us. He interfered with all of the executives in the company. And when I finally took an audit of the emotional expense, he was the biggest loser quantifiably in my company, even though he's a wonderful person. He's smart as shit, and he did his job extremely well. That emotional expense was the most important thing, and it's guided me to help me stop limiting my beliefs. For you, is there a process of emotional expenditure of being able to audit? Because a lot of people may not be familiar with the capability in itself.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And I got a hunch that the answer is going to kind of be almost it depends. And I mean that for this reason. People, in my experience here, people have a default mood state that they settle into. And that mood state, if I want to be going back to the previous lesson, I've got to be curious about, is this mood state actually serving me? Is it filling me up, or is it depleting my energy reserves? The mood state is a consequence of how I describe what's going on in my life. And that description process is usually not consciously generated. So what I want to be able to do, and this is kind of the move on this, is examine, audit my mood state. If I find that the tank is depleting, that's a signal to me that I now need to re-examine a couple of things here and make the invisible visible. What's the cost? Where's that coming from? Where's the drain in the tank? Because that drain in the tank is something I'm not paying attention to. And it's usually a limiting belief system or a limiting belief structure that is pulling me away from my spirit. And my spirit is where aliveness comes from.
So good. And remember, know your timing and risk tolerance, know your perceived value and bottom line. It is applicable to the perceived emotional expenditure as well. And we can go ahead and take inventory, calculate opportunities by it, people, places, things, circumstances, and events, and decide whether we're willing to continue to pay that emotional expenditure. If you would like the emotional expenditure exercise, learn how to take inventory and audit, understand it depends. Email me, David means beloved at D, first initial, Meltzer means servant, David at dmeltzer.com. Our next lesson is the how to rewrite our life by rewriting our story. Lesson is we need to know who we want to become and who we can become when we have a different story. You see, we cannot consistently outperform the identity we hold for ourselves. In fact, you'll never overachieve your own self-image, which is directly relative to your story. And when our identity is built around these limitations, I'm not enough of blank, I'm not good at blank, I'm not able to do blank, it won't work blank, our behaviors reinforce that. Once our thoughts, once our perceptions, once our meaning, intention, our behaviors reinforce it. So imagine waking up tomorrow there in Japan without the belief that you're not good enough. How would we walk into a meeting? How would we speak to others? How would we lead? How do we follow? How do we sell? How would we parent? How would we co-create, command, and serve differently with that which we want to become? And the stories will follow. The identity precedes behavior because it initiates the thoughts. And the future version of ourselves isn't necessarily any more capable than the dude that's sitting in front of you today. It may simply be operating from a more empowering story. What's a story that you tell yourself at your advanced, experienced being? I'm sure you still tell yourself stories because there's days you wake up and tell yourself, I'm not enough. This is not going to work.
Right now, I'm telling myself I'm old.
Yeah, you're older, but not old.
Well, no, I'm telling myself I'm old. It's kind of like, ouch, this hurts.
Yeah,
and I get up in the morning. I'll be up at about 4:30, 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, and I'm going to take a Japanese bath, and then start the day again. The idea of story and where it comes into identity. Almost everybody puts a qualifier after the two words "I am," and typically that qualifier is taking me down the slope instead of up the mountain. So one of the quickest ways that I have found to turn that around is to eliminate the qualifier, either the positive or the negative qualifier on the backside of I am. Just take the next week and just work with the notion I am. I enter a meeting with just the notion I am. If I come in with just I am, that's by definition, it's saying I am a presence. And it doesn't qualify it. I am a presence and I'm here. And by being present, all of a sudden, now I have access to all kinds of moves that the qualifier kind of boxed me out of. So I can, again, I go back to the story isn't true. I manufacture it. So let's manufacture something that works for me.
So good. I am happy. I'm healthy. I'm wealthy. I am worthy. A mantra that I say every morning and night. And I visualize who we would be without this limiting belief. And I go ahead and ask for my higher self to enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit with the behaviors in the pursuit of my higher self, my best self. If you would like to learn how to become what you would like to become without the previous historical relevances of that story, how to change the meaning of that story, rewrite the story to rewrite your life, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. There's more to rewrite besides the story, Blaine. The next lesson talks about rewriting the belief without truthful possibility. See, removing all of the historical relevances, defining moments, mistakes, failures, and setbacks isn't enough. Those old beliefs, removing them isn't enough. We actually need to intentionally give meaning and replace those beliefs with both empowering and supporting evidence, stories that are aligned with our best self, our becoming. Instead of saying, I always fail, we could say, we've succeeded before, learn from the setbacks, and continue to improve. One of the greatest things in my life was to be able to persevere through losing everything. It was much greater of accomplishment than starting with nothing with a single mom and 6 kids. To be at the top and to lose everything created a different self-image. And I needed to make sure that I told a different story about losing over $100 million, including my mom's house. We don't have enough is how I was born, but I am not enough is how I felt. Yep. We don't have enough is where I was born. And we already have enough to create more when I started. And I knew I was enough by telling myself, I am happy, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm worthy. what the heck am I doing to interfere with it? Our goal isn't false positivity, group, Blaine. It's this truthful possibility. You're the master of truthful possibility. Your mastermind teaches people about truthful possibility. It helped me understand how we can transition this false positivity to truthful possibility.
Typically, people will think in absolutes. Yeah, and you just talked about it. I'm not good enough, and it's a statement of, kind of going back to fact. It's a statement of fact. No, it's not. It's a statement of a recognition of, right now this didn't work, but I've generalized it to be universal in my experience of life and living, and it's an indictment on who I am. I always fail. No, I don't. At some point in time, I actually learned to walk. Damn. Well, okay. So if I learn to walk, that must mean I've got a capability inside me that can overcome gravity. Isn't that really cool? How can I leverage that? So I've got evidence in my history of succeeding in every domain that I actually care to move into. I've got evidence that I've actually done something in that domain to actually be the kind of person I said I wanted to be. And where I want to be able to go to is saying, okay, how can I leverage that little kernel and move it into place right now, plant it as a seed, and then germinate it, water it, take care of it. And, the mantra that you work with in the morning, that's that process of watering and nurturing and curating that particular seed that moves it into a different reality structure. And the truthful possibility is I did succeed once before in this domain. So I can pick that up and transfer it over here.
And you help so many people with your mastermind. Email Blaine to join the Possibility to Reality Mastermind. David@dmeltzer.com, BlaineBartlett.com. Either one will get you going with Blaine. Also, if you'd like to learn how to rewrite beliefs with truthful possibilities, David@dmeltzer.com. Email me. The last lesson for the day, Blaine, before you get to do Ask Me Anything from Japan, which we're so grateful for, not only how you show up, but the fact that you show up. It's the evidence today and every day is never aligned with where I want to be. It's either non-existent or contrary to where I want to be. And we need to create evidence. And that evidence that we create each and every day is through our daily actions. What, the who, the how, the now, applying our why. We don't permanently change beliefs through thinking alone. Thinking alone creates our perception, perceptions meaning, meaning intention, intentions create behaviors that then create results. We change them by creating new evidence. Every aligned action gives our mind another reason, as you suggested, to believe a different story. If we believe we're not good at sales, we're studying sales won't change that belief. Serving someone, making the call, having the conversation, proving through repetition, consistent, persistent pursuit of that potential of sales creates the evidence aligned with the divine direction and clears that which we're doing to interfere with it, limitation of what we do, say, think, feel, and believe, so we can become better. That creates fulfillment. See, when we're better, we're closest to God. We're closer to God. So it's action that creates evidence. It's evidence that builds confidence, and confidence that reinforces the story that we believe. Blaine, what actions create the evidence? You help so many people in this realm.
The way that works most effectively for me is it's a dichotomy. I'm either a center of accumulation in my life, and I accumulate things that don't work and whatnot. And most people will organize their life around, I want to accumulate it. And in that kind of a context, I can never get enough because my whole focus is accumulation. If I move towards actions that are organized around being a center of distribution, by definition, it infers that there is an abundance of riches that I have access to that I can consistently give away. So my daily actions are one of generosity, one of distribution. Distribute a smile, distribute a hug, tip the bill. But it doesn't have to be big. But I see myself as a center of distribution in the world. Energy moves to and through me. It doesn't move to and stop in me. It moves to and through me.
It's so true. And so if
And
you
I
would
don't
like, we're breaking up a little bit there.
want it to stop. So the action I take is to unplug it so that it doesn't. There we go. We're back.
All right. We are distribution center. Evidence is not there. Evidence is contrary. We've got to create the evidence through daily action. We do that as a distribution center, complete control of the thoughts, perceptions, meaning, intention, and of course, behaviors or actions of what we do, say, think, feel, and believe. Make sure we practice both gratitude, forgiveness, and accountability so that we can learn from those actions and have the right perspective to lessen the distance of resistance of what we do, say, think, feel, and believe. Please email me like that.
You like that?
That creates evidence through daily action. In conclusion, Blaine, before I let you go ahead and take some questions, success isn't always about becoming someone new. Most of the time, it's about removing the stories that interfere with us from expressing our potential, our truth, our higher self, who we already are capable of becoming. When we stop allowing the setbacks, failures, mistakes, defining moments, rejections, circumstances that define or limit our identity, when we're able and capable to become free to use that experience as information, lessons for what we do next. Our past is simply information, not identity. Our beliefs influence our perceptions. Perceptions influence our meaning influence our intentions our actions/behaviors, and our behaviors create our future. There is no doubt. If you want to get to where you want to be or better, you need to rewrite your story, and it will rewrite your life. This has been the Napoleon Hill Institute weekly training, Rewriting Our Story, Rewriting Our Life. I'm David Meltzer. All you got to do is email me to get the guides, exercises, and replays and my book, David at dmeltzer.com. David means beloved. At D is my first initial. Meltzer means servant. Let me be your beloved servant. David at dmeltzer.com. I appreciate everyone, especially Blaine. Thank you, Blaine, for joining us and carrying on for the next half hour to answer questions. Enjoy Japan. I'll see you when you get back. God bless everybody. Thank you for joining me.
Take care, buddy. Thanks.
Beautiful. And Mr. Blaine, can you hear me here live in the Breakfast with Champions? Of course, the greatest rooming community on Clubhouse.
I sure can, Nick. It's good to be here.
Beautiful. Always good to hear your voice, my friend. And thank you so much, as always, to both you and Mr. Meltzer for an incredible training today. Really looking forward to this extended Q&A session, and always appreciate you, of course, taking the time to further how you show up and be of service to everybody in our community. As a quick reminder to everybody that is joining us, of course, if you are live on the webinar and multicast, as we are live on all platforms, please put your questions for the Double B. That is Blaine Bartlett. You can reach him at blainebartlett.com into the room chat, as we will be monitoring the chat and making sure that we select your incredible questions today from the webinar. And for all of our friends here in the Breakfast with Champions, if you have a question for Mr. Blaine today, go ahead and use the hand icon in the lower left-hand corner of your screen to request to join the stage, and we will, of course, bring you up. And if you are already on stage and have a question for the Double B today, all you need to do is put a quick note in the room chat, and I will be happy to pass the mic over your way. Now, without further ado, for the first question of the day, we got Mike, who is here on stage. Mike, it is great to see you, my friend. Happy Wednesday. Why don't you unmute yourself and kick us off with the first question of the day?
Good morning, Blaine. How we doing?
Hey, Mike. I'm doing well. How you doing? It's good to hear your voice.
It's great to hear you as well. Doing fantastic. I'm going back to thoughts on leadership here. When you're communicating with employees, or even back to, I always connect leadership and parenting to being very similar as well. So I try to test certain things with my kids, if you will, to see if it can translate over, or vice versa. what do you do when in a situation when you're trying to understand and make sure people are heard? How do you kind of translate that over? And what's the fastest way, I guess, to meet people where they are at from your perspective?
To meet people where they're at. The easy answer to that, and I say easy answer in the sense that it seems a logical thing to be doing, but no, not a lot of people do it. Is instead of telling somebody what you'd like to have happen, the power of questions is embedded in the fact that when you ask an effective question, people lean in, and you ask a question in order to meet somebody where they are. And part of that has, I mean, if you're just thinking about your kids here, and I don't care how old they are, you can sit down with them and say, we've got this going on. I'd like to hear from you what you think about this. Where does this make sense to you, and where does it not make sense to you? Without moving to the next stage where people will rapidly go to, which is, here's what I want you to do. Don't go there first. I want to sit and I want to understand, how is this landing with you? If I can meet somebody where they are and they genuinely feel at that point in time seen, heard, and valued, they're very likely to want to come with me on that next phase of the journey. So I would use questions, Mike, rather than directives.
Got it. Very helpful. Open-ended questions instead of jumping right into it.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you, Mike, for getting us started here with the Q&A. We got Princess Ali that is on stage ready to rock and roll with the next question of the day. So, Ali, of course, the mic is yours, my dear. Why don't you unmute yourself and carry us on?
Can you hear me okay?
Oh, you are in and out.
Breaking up a little bit.
You're breaking up, Ali.
Can you hear me okay now?
There you go.
Loud and clear.
Oh. Okay. Question.
Take that back. You're not loud and clear.
Yeah, Ali, we will come back to you here in a few minutes. Ali, we're going to thank you for muting yourself. I will go ahead and pass it over to Marissa for the next question. Marissa, let's hope we have some more stable connection over there in New York. What do you say?
All right. Hi, Blaine. I hope you're doing well. Miss you.
Hey, I miss you too, Marissa. I love seeing you here.
Oh, yeah. Well, you did a great job today and could really use your insights. So I have had some interns recently. And I feel like sometimes I can be a little too nice as a leader, but I've really been working on giving constructive feedback is what I like to call it. And I have someone that I'm working with that I feel like doesn't take feedback well and kind of gets a little defensive when so I've taken that and I've tried to provide them with look, like, you're doing a great job. I'm just telling you this because I want to help you and I want you to be better. And these are the things that you could do better. I guess my question for you is, how do you handle situations where, as a leader, the person that you're talking to doesn't take the feedback well?
The idea of feedback, for most people, puts them on the defensive. So, I mean,
I've done it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you mind if I give you some feedback? Embedded in that question is, I'm going to just give you something here that you're probably not going to like. I just asked your permission to dump on you about something here. Regardless of what your intent is. The idea that you're in a collaborative working relationship with somebody, you actually have them reporting to you, and there is a project or something that you're trying to make happen that they've already agreed is something that they're going to take on and work with you on. So the key there has to do with, let's have a conversation about what's working and not working at this point, rather than, you need to be better. Better means that that there's something that's broken that needs to be fixed. So if I'm going to working and not working, that's a values-free assessment. And I mean values-free in the sense of there's nothing broken necessarily. There's no good, there's no bad, there's no right, there's no wrong. It's just an assessment that something isn't working right now. And together with you and I'd like us to, collaboratively, understand what's not working so we can get it back on track. Is that something that you would be interested in engaging with me on? Most people are going to say yes. And if they say, yeah, I'm not interested in that, that gives you a clue about, okay, maybe they're not the right player to have on this team right now.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So like kind of taking accountability as well of like,
Exactly.
how can I help you to make
Yeah.
sure this is working? Yeah.
Yeah. Help
No,
me
I like
help
that.
you
Thank
win.
you.
Help me help you win.
Yeah. Thank you. Great advice.
You bet, Marissa. Great to hear your voice.
Thank
You
you
too.
so much. Thank you so much, Marissa. We appreciate you. And for our next question of the day, I'm going to pass it over to Gigi, who is here on stage. Gigi, the mic is yours, my dear. Why don't you unmute yourself and carry us on?
Hello, happy Wednesday. This is so interesting because I'm living a full circle moment right now. And my question is because I'm looking at, what happened 6 years ago and now, and the story I used to tell me myself in that moment, and the story I'm telling myself right now. And what would be the suggestion or a mantra that people can use when I was in that situation to move forward and understand there are so many opportunities in what's happening? How can we frame that? Because this is so important.
If I find myself carrying something from 6 years ago, the question that I can ask myself is, what is it? How is it serving me right now? And there's a notion in there's a notion that I'll work with clients that has to do with the dynamic of a payoff. Okay, now what I mean by a payoff is, I'll give you a real simple example here. Wife asked the husband, and I'm going to be, kind of, putting in gender identities in place here, but a wife asks the husband, please wash the dishes for me. The husband says, okay, fine, I'll do it. And he grumbles the whole time. It's obvious that he's really not liking it all. And she is going to the point of, well, I'm not ever going to ask him again to, wash the dishes because it's just not worth the aggravation. When the dishes are getting washed, you get clean dishes on one end of it, but the payoff that he's getting is he's putting in place here something that allows him to not do something that he doesn't want to do any longer. So there's a payoff on every discomfort that I have. There's a payoff in every disgruntled thing that I'm working with. There's a payoff that I'm getting for carrying a story that happened to me 6 years ago, and that payoff can be any number of different things. But if I can get clear about what the payoff is, what is it that I'm getting out of it? Can I get that a little bit cleaner? Can I get that without having the weight of the story accompanying me for the rest of my life? If I can find a way to just get that payoff, and that payoff may be as simple as acknowledgement, it may be as simple as understanding. It may, there's a lot of different payoffs that are coming into play here. So oftentimes I'll carry a story because I feel right, and there's a righteousness about the wrong that was done to me, that sort of a thing. So as long as I'm carrying the story with me, I continue to feel right in my life. Yeah, I was the kind of person that was right in that situation. So those sorts of dynamics they're very subtle, but every time that I find myself carrying something that no longer is serving me, I want to know what is going on such that I'm actually carrying it, because I wouldn't be carrying it unless I was getting something out of it. And it's that getting something that I want to, be clear about.
Okay, this was powerful. Oh my God. Thank you so much. Love it. Thank you.
You bet, Gigi.
Beautiful. And we are going to circle back to Allie as she has so kindly put her question into the chat. So her question was around how our identity shapes our behaviors long before our results change. What's the practice that helps you most consistently think, decide, and act from the person you're becoming instead of the evidence that it's in front of you today?
Yeah, Allie, we've had, actually, I've actually mentioned this before. It's already happened. I just haven't arrived. I mean, for me, it's as simple as that. And that is a mantra that I work with. Whatever it is that I'm seeking to have in my life as an experience, I know it's already happened. If I can imagine it, it's already happened. It's already present. The physical realities would tell me that it doesn't exist yet, but that's not the point. That's not what I need to be paying attention to. I hold in my mind that it's already happened. I just haven't arrived. So the next thing here, okay? So it's already happened. I just haven't arrived. The more I work with that notion, the more solid that experience becomes in my in my internal experience. And that, begins to catalyze such that at some point in time I look up and go, "Oh, it's here." I'm yeah, it's here and I've arrived to where it is. Um, that's it's a metaphysical approach to it, and I find that it works exceedingly well. Hopefully
Beautiful.
that's
Thank you so
useful.
much. Yeah, I was going to say she's texting me saying, "Oh my goodness, that's perfect." So thank you, Allie, for the incredible question. And for our next question here, as we focus in on about the last 10 minutes or so of the Q&A with the Double B, that is Blaine Bartlett. You can read that blainebartlett.com. I want to just remind everybody that if you have a question for the Double B today, go ahead if you're on the webinar and put it into the chat, as we are monitoring the chat for any of the questions in there. And of course, for any of our friends here on the Breakfast with Champions, if you have a question for the Double B today and you're in the audience, just use the hand icon to request to join the stage. Or of course, if you're already on stage, just go ahead and put a note in the room chat, and I will be happy to pass the mic over your way. Now, our next question is coming from Colleen, and I see it here in the chat. Her question is, how do you know when you've truly changed the meaning of a painful experience versus when you've intellectually accepted it, but emotionally it still runs the show?
That's how you know, Colleen. If emotionally it still runs the show, it hasn't shifted. Okay. I mean, that is the telltale. And the idea of forgiveness comes into play here in one sense. True forgiveness results in forgetfulness. And what I mean by that is if I've truly forgiven, I've literally detached myself from the experience. I've detached myself from that event or whatever it was that had transpired and happened. That true forgiveness, it will result in a in an amnesic state where I've forgotten that it happened. It's not in my life anymore. It just doesn't run me anymore. Now I can recall it if I wanted to, but it's not an unbidden memory. It's something that I have to actually work with to bring back into my consciousness. So because I've forgotten about it. I just literally forgot about it. That's probably the easiest way to think about that. True forgiveness will result in forgetfulness.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Mr. Blaine. And for our next question coming from the webinar chat, the question is, how do you know when your vision is being limited by past conditioning versus when it's being shaped by genuine wisdom?
Well, I think that's a good question. That's an interesting question just in terms of the phrasing of it. And I would key in on the word limiting. Shaped by wisdom doesn't have it doesn't have limiting constraints around it. If I'm experiencing my vision or if I'm concerned about my vision being limited, I'm probably not tapping into the wisdom that I need to be tapping into that can more fulsomely express or define what that vision is. So I would pay attention to my internal linguistic structures, the language. I'm talking to myself all the time. I'm always in conversation. It's noisy in here. And I want to pay attention to what are the patterned ways that I find myself talking to myself about this future state, quote unquote, future state, this vision. And if I'm concerned about limiting it, what's that about? There's a belief system in there that probably is suggesting, yeah, on any number of things. I'm not good enough, or it's too big for me, or it's too small for me, or there's an identity piece that comes into play there that is not connected to the wisdom of the spirit.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Mr. Blaine, and want to thank everybody in the community for the incredible questions here today. Of course, with our training, and as we wrap up, we got about 5 minutes left here in terms of the Q&A session with the double B, that is Blaine Bartlett. I want to go ahead and extend an invitation to Shosh, who is here on stage on the Breakfast with Champions. Shosh, my friend, it was great having you with us in London this week for our incredible mastermind plus VIP dinner experience. So very grateful for the way that you show up. I want to give you the opportunity to unmute yourself and ask your question for the double B, Blaine Bartlett, today. Go ahead and unmute.
Nick, yeah, fantastic to see you, David, in the community. So absolute pleasure. Blaine, pleasure to connect here. I think for myself, thanks for sharing the thoughts that you mentioned. What are your thoughts in terms of how you see whether it's the intersection of health, wealth, and happiness, and around the meaning you can give towards living your optimal life in regards to those buckets?
That's an interesting question, Josh. I think, one way to think about it is that they can't not be intersecting. If I'm living in a material world, if I'm living in a time space construct, there are pieces to that time space continuum that I'm living in that involve time, or that involve health, that involve money, that involve family, that involve relationship. All of that stuff is always going to be intermingled in some place and in some way. So partly what you can start paying attention to, if you will, and this kind of is consistent with this week's training, is the story. And rewriting a story, or paying attention to the existing story. Where do I want to address, or where do I want to direct my attention? Because my energy will follow my attention. And if I want to have more material wealth in my life, I want to start paying attention to that monetary dynamic. And it's the idea of balance. We're not going to, partly what I hear embedded in your question there, in that intersection of these different pieces there. Yeah, there's not a balance necessarily that goes into play here. The only time anybody is balanced in life is when they stop moving. So by literally moving requires being out of balance in some way. If I'm walking, I'm essentially falling forward in a controlled manner. Okay. What am I walking towards? Well, I'm out of balance as I'm moving towards that next intersection, or whatever it might be. So when you start thinking in terms of those sorts of dynamics, that helps a little bit in terms of kind of paying attention to that intersection line, which is always going to be continuously moving. Sometimes it's going to be colored more heavily towards one of these domains than the others, but that's a choice I get to make deliberately and consciously, or it's a choice that will be made for me by a story that's running that I'm not aware of.
Interesting. Now, thanks, Blaine. And just I had a quick thought just on what you were mentioning, is around composing your story. How do you see the impact of language? It's often, how humans create arrangements between each other, how we create the meaning, when ultimately then, you may say there's nothing there, but it's what the meaning we create as humans with language. Have you found really any sort of effective ways of how you think about language and creating the story and the meaning in our lives?
Yep. Language creates reality, and it's also a reflector of reality. I speak my reality into being. I literally speak my reality into form. Now, when I say speak, I'm not necessarily talking about the verbal moving of my lips in speaking. That speaking takes place in my mind most typically. There's research data that indicates that only 5%, by the time an individual's 30 years of age, only 5% of their behavior is consciously chosen. 95% of it is directed by the subconscious realm. You know, the paradigm structures, the belief systems that are out of sight, out of mind in the subconscious domain. And there's a continual conversation going on at that level that is showing up in my behavior. So language creates reality. The other part of that is when you start listening to how people are speaking about themselves, about what's going on in their life, it gives you an indication of their internal reality. So language reflects reality as well. So you can begin to pay attention to folks with whom you're interacting and relating with, to say, okay, I'm hearing you speak this, and I'm seeing consistency in behavior. Let's have a conversation about, if we want to move in a different direction. The language that I'm experiencing doesn't seem to be consistent with and in alignment with where it is that we say that we'd like to go. Let's explore that. Maybe there's a different story that can start to be constructed.
Thank you, Blaine. I appreciate you sharing that perspective. Thank you.
You bet, Josh. Thanks.
Beautiful, Mr. Blaine. Want to thank you, of course, for the overtime session that you provide to this community by going above and beyond with the Q&A. With the double B, that is Blaine Bartlett. You can, of course, reach him at blainebartlett.com. Blaine, I know everybody in the chat, on the webinar and multicast, as we are live on all platforms, as well as here on the Breakfast with Champions. Continue
You're breaking up, Nick. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Did I lose you here?
We can hear you, baby. Nick, can you hear us?
Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
We got you, Nick.
All right, beautiful. Thank you. Apologies. I was just giving you your flowers, Blaine, for always going above and beyond for our community in terms of sticking around for the extra Q&A. I call it the overtime session with the double B. I was saying that everybody on the webinar, as well as here in Breakfast with Champions, I know they would love to get in touch with you to tap into your wealth of wisdom between now and next week's training. Where can people get in touch with you?
Easiest way is probably blainebartlett.com. That's my personal website. You can DM me directly. Email is bbartlett@avatar-resources.com. And we've got a leadership community that we work with that you're more than welcome to poke around in. leader.blainebartlett.com/SOBE community. And the SOBE stands for the Soul of Business Experience. So leader.blainebartlett.com SOBE community. So those are the primary areas that you could probably get connected. I'm very active on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, that sort of stuff as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Blaine. And I know that we will see you next Wednesday for the next edition of the Napoleon Hill Institute training. As we go ahead and close out today's session and today's training, I want to remind everybody that if you would like the guide and exercise from today's training, all you need to do is email the beloved servant himself, david@dmeltzer.com. Once again, that is just david@dmeltzer.com to get the guide and exercise from today's training. And of course, I want to invite but not obligate everybody to come and join us in person as we are on tour over 200 cities every single year, adding in a car wash in each and every one of those cities, which is the addition of a community meetup, holding court, or even one of our VIP dinners for charity. So come and join us tomorrow as we are here in Breckenridge, Colorado for our Ryder Cup of Wine VIP dinner experience with the PGA Pro, Virgil Herring, our Broadway star and American Idol star, Justin Guarini, our LinkedIn cash flow expert, Kim Walsh-Phillips, and many others, adding on a car wash here in Breckenridge, of course. Then we're going to be off to Atlanta, Georgia with the EO Atlanta chapter, as well as hosting one of our masterminds, adding on a car wash there next week in Atlanta. We'll also be in Newport Beach, California with the incredible incredible Tim Story for the Act Like the Champion You Are Mastermind plus car wash in Newport Beach. Then we'll be off to Viva Las Vegas for the production and VIP dinner for 2 Minute Drill, season number 8. The #1 pitch only show there in Viva Las Vegas. Then David will be in Honolulu, Hawaii for another stop on the car wash tour before we come back to Los Angeles, California, the greatest stadium in the world, SoFi Stadium, for our August edition of our SoFi Mastermind series. And then closing things out once again in Atlanta, Georgia with Dr. Stefanos Sinacropi, Les Brown, and many, many others. Ladies and gentlemen, 12 to 15 days that we have here of the car wash tour. So if you would like to be invited but not obligated, all you need to do is text us at area code 949. Next 3 digits are 298. Last 4 digits are 2905 to get those invitations but not obligations. Of course, we will be back here in the Breakfast with Champions this Friday, 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for another edition of David's Free Friday trainings. But in the meantime, have an incredible Wednesday ahead. And as David always says, continue to be more interested than interesting, and be kind. Be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Gigi, go ahead and close out the webinar. I am officially closing out the room here in the Breakfast with Champions. Thank you all so much.
Wanna know where David's gonna be? Get invites, updates, and community. When he's in your city, you won't miss a thing. Just text the number, let your phone ring, 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 ring. 949-292-9005. That's 949-292-9005. Events, connection, and opportunity. All in one place. Come join the community. So text it now, don't wait in line. 949-292-9005. That's 949-292-9005.
They discovered it, they read it, and they applied it. It's the golden thread that connects the titans of the self-development industry, the source that spawned millions of millionaires, the original blueprint to success.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. It's a classic. A classic.
And I love Think and Grow Rich. I love it. It's right here. I mean, it's one of my favorite books of all time.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
This material is what changed my life. This is the material I study every day. From being an immigrant woman, coming from poverty, and really coming to America and literally achieving the American dream. I can't even tell you how grateful I am for this man, for what he did for me and my family.
Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.
People don't realize is that when we let our ego get in our way, ego is the loss, the fear of loss. So need to be right, the need to be offended, the need to be hurt, fearful. When that trajectory changes, what happens is you continually go the wrong way. So my job as a coach is to say, let's get into the enjoyment of the direct pursuit of my potential. Right? And so when the light went on, it was not about the potential of making money and being an entrepreneur, which is one of my specialties. And I said to him, look, this is an opportunity now to show how great you really are. We can't let the outside voices, right, determine our success. The happiness that we have comes within. Why are you going to give that control to somebody else?
Thoughts become things. And I always wonder, why did no one teach us this? Why did we not learn this in school? Why did we not learn this from our families? If you make your study a priority, your life will change.
And I came up with 4 really valuable things that I took stock in. And the first one was gratitude. Simple gratitude. Although I grew up with nothing, I was always grateful. Throughout the whole process of consistently, persistently pursuing my potential, I was grateful. It made my past better, my present brighter, and my future even brighter than that. In fact, I tell people all the time, if you want to change your life, change your employee's life, your family life, it's very simple. 2 words: say thank you.